Alright, how's it going? Thank you to everyone who watched the main crew video. There was tons of material that I just couldn't include, so this is a good time for it. Also, I'm going to respond to some of your comments because a lot of them were quite interesting. So without further ado, the game used to feel even more like the US and everywhere felt more unique before the Wild Run expansion came out. With PBR and Wild Run, they didn't adapt all the materials to it, lol. With pre-Wild Run, each region had its own weather, lighting and colour correction. Each region actually felt different. I can't say the same for Wild Run. This is an excellent point, and I really wish I'd made it myself. Since the map is an interpretation of the US, it feels very fitting that each city would abandon a bit of realism to instead sell the idea of the location. This was all discarded to make way for PBR and Wild Run, without really considering how it would change the feel of the world. I didn't have time for it in the main video, but I really wanted to talk about the 360 version of the crew. It's kind of insane really. It's on 2 discs, likely because 360 DVDs only hold about 8 gigabytes. The discs just install the game to the console. When it's all loaded up, you can tell, yeah, this is really damn impressive for the hardware. A world of this size and detail on 512 megabytes of memory. The port was handled by Asobo Studio, and when I looked at their history, it all made sense. They developed Fuel. The crew was about 5,000 square kilometers. Fuel, 5 years earlier, 14,000. An incredible feat. Unfortunately, without the landmarks of the crew, Fuel's world feels needlessly large and quite empty. Still, it's more evidence that the studio had ridiculous technical skill with hardware that frankly was not supposed to support something like this. The crew on 360 aged a lot better than Fuel. Well, except for the fact that it's unplayable now. It was also an interesting time capsule. It likely couldn't support full PBR, so it never received the Wild Run expansion. Hence, it still had the crew's launch visuals. Keep in mind, it's the 360, so it was like running the original game on low settings. Still, it was cool to see it myself, so close to the final buzzer. And I could tell it was close to the end, because the 360 version servers were already malfunctioning by the time I got to it. Sometimes the game just wouldn't boot up, and challenges and progressions straight up did not work. So all I could really do was explore the map, and that's the footage you're seeing right now. Thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun to have that coast-to-coast road trip while yapping about the game. I don't know whether it came across in the script just how many good leads I got from Whammy 4. He organised the community get-together, pointed out the history that went into the crew, including the Ubisoft Reflections connection and the 360 version by Asobo Studio. He also just showed a real passion for the game. There were so many clips that I had to cut from the final video just for runtime's sake that were really compelling. His love for the game was evident, and I really did appreciate the game more after talking to him. So thanks, Whammy. I can't wait for the offline mode where we'll get to drive around and chat again. You should add a link to Stop Killing Games in the description. If you don't know of it already, there's a movement started to try and take legal action to stop companies from making games completely unplayable when they drop support. All the instructions to do this are on the Stop Killing Games site. Oh, thanks for catching this. Everyone should go to the Stop Killing Games website, since this could affect more than just the crew. This is the future of games here. We're going to have many other titles that disappear much in the same manner unless something is done about it. Ross Scott of Accursed Farms has been doing great work. This time, I've actually remembered to include the link in the description, so please do check it out. Really great video. You're the first one who actually said what made the game special for me. The vibe, the feeling of travelling and discovering, and of course, the map. I'm glad you enjoyed it. This was meant to be a short project. My main challenge is that my projects always go way out of scope. Originally, I was gonna just, show what the community was doing for the Crew Unlimited and point people their way. After chatting to Whammy, I got really into the game and realised my goal had changed. I wanted to change the narrative around the crew as a whole. I would say Ubisoft's 2014 lineup of games has a better reception these days as the 10 years later nostalgia kicks in, but back then it was often considered a damp squib. Huge promises, all under-delivered. The crew was the last of this lot and seemed to receive a collective shrug, especially by those not into driving games. I realised that there was a chance to show something a little different, that the crew was culturally relevant for games, and that many had unfortunately slept on it and wouldn't get a chance to see it now. I really do hope that I managed that. One downside is that it required a lot more consideration. I now had to convince the apathetic. Long story short, the project file got so large that I couldn't open the Premiere project anymore. 16 gigabytes of RAM was not cutting it. The program would just crash whenever I did anything to it. So I had to delay the video by an extra week just so I could go out and buy some more RAM. I'm still relatively new to Premiere because I used to use Vegas for years upon years, so concepts like proxy files and editing and subsequences was, well, let's say I'm definitely doing it next time. Never seen that trail that spirals upwards to the left. Didn't think there were areas I completely neglected, but it goes to show how big the map is. Huh, me neither. I wonder what else I missed. This game was 10 times better than The Crew 2 for me, mainly because the campaign for the first game was f***ing awesome. I wanted to get revenge, clear my name, and explore this world of criminals and underground street races. As well as seeing all of the landmarks, I actually also had time to finish the campaign. When I first played The Crew, I didn't find the missions too amazing. Few truly used the world to its advantage. Races in Detroit were very similar to ones in LA. I also can't say that I cared much for the story. The protagonist, Alex, doesn't really sell the idea that he's desperate for revenge. It makes it hard to get invested. The game would also constantly pester you to play the next mission. I ended up changing the language to Spanish just to make it less distracting. It does have one thing going for it. Racing games are very much now in the wholesome phase, where everything needs to be nice and happy and clean. The Crew's story ends up sort of charming, as one of the last bastions of the gritty racing campaign. Whammy had mentioned that it was made by ex-Rockstar writers, so I looked into it. James Worrell was narrative director and previously co-wrote GTA Vice City. Christian Cantamessa did outsourced script writing and previously co-wrote the first Red Dead Redemption. So there you go, a wee bit of Rockstar history in The Crew. While I didn't love it, the story revealed Ivory Tower's ambition to land among the heavy hitters in gaming. The Crew 2's safe car festival angle just feels like a sheepish step away. Ubisoft, you will own nothing. Now give us that subscription fee. Honestly, done with buying games from bigger companies. Indie and AA seems to be the way at this point. It's such a shame that people that love these games get the brunt of the worst of this. Oh hey Beard. Yeah, I find it easy to skim over your average AAA game. Many feel like they skirt around risky ideas, in case they jeopardize the jobs of literally hundreds of people. However, there's always enough AAAs that manage something cool that it becomes all the more frustrating when stupid industry nonsense gets in the way. The Crew is only the most recent example. This is the only video game to feature my hometown, and I would always boot it up if I got bored of playing my other games. I spent a lot of early video production thinking about the way that the world was built, the techniques used, how impressive the scale of the whole thing was. Over time though, I started to grow very fond of the underrepresented places they included. Speaking of which, being from the Metro Detroit area, it sucks because there are virtually no games that feature Detroit, especially in open world form. It's interesting because despite the lack of coverage in games, Detroit is actually quite a well-known city, even if it's infamous. There's a ton of important history in the place, particularly how its crumbling car industry led to 1 in 5 houses being unoccupied. I think there's an opportunity for a game world that portrays Detroit as a city that people do still live in and have ambitions for, despite all the difficulty. The Crew 2 will always have a special place in my heart. My birth date is December 2nd, and I remember playing it during my birthday with friends. The Crew is also special to me, and I actually didn't commit much video time at all to my own story with it. I really like relaxed, slow-paced games as a central place to catch up with friends. It's easier to cut to the bone when you're not awkwardly staring at each other. The Crew is amazing for just booting up the game, picking a town, and going there. That's the thing that I'll miss the most. Some of you long-timers here might have seen the Frumentari in some of my videos. Fru is a good friend of mine and has provided an insane amount of help behind the scenes for years for little to no recognition. For example, if you enjoyed the Payday 2 build crafting video, you might need to thank Fru instead for their technical knowledge. Also just, years of proofreading scripts back when I wasn't really confident in my writing and I did need that reassurance. There's also been just countless late night chats where we'd ramble to each other, and many of those were actually in the crew. So thank you, Fru. Without the crew and without you, maybe my channel would have been through. Here's to many more years of friendship and hopefully more unpaid consultancy. We'll have to find a new game to play instead. Side note, the Crew 1 was the only Crew game that you could play on Linux/SteamOS systems. Blame Ubisoft for not toggling a switch in BattlEye. Haha, the notorious microwave man. Yeah, trying to boot the game on Steam Deck would give awful launcher problems, Ubisoft Connect in all of its glory. Still, it was possible to get around. Now though, there aren't any portable games in the series, so thanks for that one, Ubisoft. Sad to know about this game's fate. This looks like a gem that I sadly ignored for some reason. Also, I'm sad to know you don't f*** with car festivals. They are the coolest thing Horizon brought to the market. Cars and music? It's interesting to hear from someone who does like it. To be fair, I think I'd enjoy it more if the newer Forza Horizons hadn't rubbed me the wrong way. The only game to do the Carfest aesthetic right is Need for Speed Pro Street. The way to do it is to make everything look like Grid Life or Gate Bill, but bigger. And in real life, Carfest isn't everyone having 15 pristine supercars, it's groups and individuals bringing whatever they built as a show of performance, innovation, or just to have a good time putting down some solid runs. Point being, it's gotta be gritty. People the transmission at the line sometimes. Someone might pop their tyres in the burnout box. Drift cars run bash bars and quick release bumpers because a good run means leaving a little paint on the concrete sometimes. Yeah, I think you've mellowed me out slightly on the Carfest aesthetic. You're right that most racing games nowadays get it horribly wrong. But yeah, there's something good buried away in that concept. What? Ivory Tower coming from Eden Games makes so much sense as to why this really felt like the next Test Drive. Test Drive Unlimited was amazing. Test Drive Unlimited probably deserves its own coverage, so I only briefly mentioned it in the video. The crew owes a lot to TDU, the huge open world, the casual driving aesthetic, the weird approach to multiplayer. Actually, I found a cool article from TDU's producer on the game's 8-player restriction. Quote, "In Test Drive Unlimited, when you're free riding, you're in an 8-player peer-to-peer session. You can lock the players that you want to stay with, but those you don't lock will change as you drive away from them to find other players that do fit better your preferences." It's a very clever solution, and I'm fairly sure a similar technique is used in the crew. At the very least, the Crew Unlimited folks confirmed this 8-player limit. TDU Solar Crown is also going to be online only. I've heard no mention of an offline patch either. What? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. And now for a little bit of video meta. I have to say I'm overjoyed with how well the crew video did. I didn't expect quite so many people would care about a game so past its prime that it was already gone by the time the video went up. I know many people will have enjoyed the video as an opportunity to dunk on Ubisoft. The company absolutely deserves it, but I should warn you now that if you subscribed for more dunking on AAA companies, you might not get much of it here. I think there's enough negativity around gaming circulating online, and I'd like to balance it out with some more optimistic stuff. I won't shy away from harsh criticism where it's necessary, but I'd rather focus on things like the culture that people have created within games. For example, through modding communities or groups that play games in a certain way, or people keeping old games alive. It doesn't matter the genre or how old the game is. With that in mind, please get in touch if there's something cool that I should check out, either through the comments or the following email address, which is also in my channel description. Okay, so this last part, this is take 5. I've been trying to talk about what I'm doing with this channel, and I keep tripping over my words. I have a better idea of what I want to do with this channel now than I have over the last nearly a decade, right? I've been doing a lot of different things. I know from experience that if my next couple of videos aren't closely related to the crew one, which they won't be, then a lot of you won't stick around, and that's totally fine, right? That is how YouTube and subscription works. You subscribe because you want more like that, and if I don't give you that, you know, you don't have to stay. Totally cool. But I don't often try and explain what my approach is. I don't really want to do what you can already find plenty of on YouTube. So for example, I'm not going to do more sort of current gaming industry topic coverage, right? Because there's lots of that. I don't think I have something unique to provide there. And I think if you're watching one of my videos, I should be giving you something of value that you can take away, right? Because otherwise, why spend the time in it? There's some stuff I want to do, but I guess the best way of putting it is stay subscribed, not to see more of the crew or more of that specific topic, but if you liked the way that I approached the topic. I have other games that I love to talk about, other interesting ideas. I love to do more stuff on culture through games. And that's the thing that will stay consistent, right, is my process, my method, right? It's taken me a long time to sort of build a style that I like. It won't be for everyone. There's some really cool stuff that I've got in the works, some really fun stories, some analysis, and I really just want to focus on like making more stuff. I don't expect you to stick around for it, but if any of you do, I hope you have fun, right? And I hope you get something out of it, because that's why I'm doing this. Okay, that wasn't quite how I wanted to put it all. I don't think I got it all across, but that's as good as it gets. This is years of like overthinking, right, condensed into a quick. I'm just going to stop. I'll see you for the next videos, hopefully, and thank you again for watching and listening to me here as well. It means a lot to me, and I still can't find good ways of describing it, so thanks.